Good morning, evening, or afternoon, everybody. My name is Justin, and I'm back again with another Tropical Atlantic update. So today we will be going over the Tropical Atlantic. We will be going over Peter, Rose, 98L, and a separate area of interest, which doesn't look like too big of a deal, but we'll still be touching upon it in this video. First things first, if you'd like to join our Discord server, we heavily promote that. It's an awesome Discord server, a very unique Discord server, as we are the only server to have such a fully equipped website that our owner share has made. And if you'd like to join that, you can. We heavily promote that because it is just such a great server and it's such a great place to be. Or if you would be kind enough to support our Patreon, none of the money from that actually goes back to us personally. It goes basically back to you guys as we use it to make our Discord server, our website, and our YouTube channel better on every level. That is totally not mandatory. That'd just be an extra nice kind thing that you guys could do for us. But if you don't want to, totally fine. You do what you want. All right, so let's go to our National Hurricane Center map. So basically, let's see. You can see what we got. We got Peter right here. We got an area of interest up here, which is actually the remnants of Odette. That's the storm. That's the remnants of Odette. It kind of spawned around here and moved up and out, and it's going to probably curve back. And we'll see if it reforms into something. National Hurricane Center gives it a low chance of formation. We have Rose, which is on its way to death. And we have a new area of interest, which we will have to monitor very closely, which would be 98L. And this has a 40% chance of developing in 2 days and a 70% chance of developing in 5 days. All right, let's move on to our sea surface temperatures. So, as you can see, we are still extremely warm, especially on this Florida coast right here. You can see that we have temperatures, sea surface temperatures, above 29, I'd say, in the entire Gulf, almost the entire Gulf. And then we have sea surface temperatures above 30 right next to Florida, sea surface temperatures above 27 to where I marked in the East Coast, and then the entire MDR is about 27, 28 degrees. Caribbean still hot as usual. And that's what we got going on with sea surface temperatures. The Atlantic's still boiling hot, and we are still in hurricane season, actually still near the peak. We have passed the peak, of course, but we are still near the peak, and we are still in an active, very active period right now. This is our sea surface temperature 7-day change, our anomalies, and what we can see is in the blue colors is if the sea surface temperatures have gone down. In the red temperatures is if they've gone up. And we can see the entire Gulf, half of the Gulf, I'd say, has gone down. Small portion of it has stayed about the same, and some of it has barely gone up. Now, have they gone down or up a lot? No. Have they gone down or up? Yes. So what this could mean for the future is something pretty significant, but in the short term, nothing much. Our Caribbean, the majority of it has actually gone up. About 0.4 to 0.8 degrees, and up here we've gone up here we've gone up, and just portions, it's spotty where we've gone down, we've gone up, we've gone down, we've gone up. Our main development region, majority of it has gone up, and that is where our next area of interest will be moving in. But like I said, this really means stuff for the long term, not the short term. Here's our ocean heat content, and let's take a deep look at this, because our new AOI is right about here, and it's going to move probably into this. Okay, I'm drawing that too close to Florida, and I don't want to hype things up. It's right about here, and it's probably going to go up about there. If I was going to take a guess, that's probably what I'd think. But there is a chance that it could move more into the Caribbean, in which case it would go more like that. And then it'd go through higher ocean heat content. But let's look at our ocean heat content, because we do have more of a Caribbean-favored storm pattern in the late season, as we saw last year, year before that. It just happens every year. We have very high ocean heat content, over 125, in a lot of the Caribbean, even the very far southern Caribbean and very far western Caribbean. The Gulf really isn't that big of a deal. I don't think we're going to see many more Gulf storms this year, if I'm going to be totally honest, but the Caribbean could be a big deal later in the season, and we saw how last year went with Ada, Iota, all those fun storms. So, fun, bad use of a word, because those were not fun. Those were very devastating, but, all of those storms. And now let's look at our shear, and you can see the Gulf actually is very low shear, very favorable in terms of shear, and we are only at about 5 to 10, maybe 15 knots in terms of shear in the Gulf. The majority of the northern and western Caribbean is low in shear, with the exception of this one part right here. You can see that a lot of the East Coast is not as favorable as shear. The MDR, which again, our next AOI, we're gonna have to be watching that because this is moving right through that low shear environment in the MDR, only 5 to 15 knots of shear, which really can't do much to a storm. Here is our anomalies for shear, and you can see that the blue, like right here, let's get a better color. None of the colors are great, but the blue you can see right here are minus, and the plus, like you can see up here, are in white. So that's what we got going on with how to read this map. But basically in the Gulf, you can see that everything has either stayed the same or lowered. You can see that in the Caribbean, you've gone up a little bit, you've gone down a little bit, nothing crazy, and in the MDR, you've only gone down. I'd call the MDR south of here. And our disturbance is right about there. It's going to move, boom. It's moving right through a low shear environment where shear is only continuing to go down. So, in terms of shear, it will be a rather favorable environment. Now, too soon for that, but that's what we got going on with the general environment of the Atlantic. Now let's go look individually at each storm, and first we're going to take a look at Peter. So, here is Peter, and as we can see, it doesn't look too great. Looks more frontal than it does a tropical system. Believe it or not, this thing's actually at 50 miles per hour. I don't know if I agree with that estimate, but that's what it's at officially, so we're going to go with 50 miles per hour. And you can see that it has a large area of deeper convection. However, its main circulation is right here. So it doesn't even have deep convection over its main circulation. It doesn't look too good. Really, that's all we can say about it. It's brief and simple. It doesn't look great. It probably won't last as a 50 mile per hour storm for very much longer, to be totally honest with you. And it may not even be a 50 mile per hour system right now. Alright, let's go look at our models for this. So here is Rose, and as I stated with Peter, it also doesn't look too great. It looks rather disheveled. More shear is hitting it. Oh wow, yeah, a lot of either shear or dry air just hit it on this side. You can see all that convection just died, gone. Its deep convection is definitely lowering in terms of intensity and in coverage, and its circulation isn't even where the deep convection is. I think Rose was probably stronger than Peter at some point, because Rose this morning did look very good actually. But right now, this is only at 40 miles per hour, according to the National Hurricane Center. And right now, neither of them look good, and Rose doesn't look great either. I think they both won't last too much longer as tropical storms. And that's our update in terms of satellite imagery for both Rose and Peter. Hey everybody, so here is our Tropical Storm Peter. So, what is so interesting about Tropical Storm Peter, you all may be asking? So, right here we have our Leeward Islands, as you can see, and then we have Peter, which is getting heavily sheared right now. You can see that although our center is right here, the majority of the wind field is actually over here. And that means that there is a good amount of likely easterly shear pushing this thing, and pushing the wind field to the east, and it's pushing it away from the actual center. And like I said, a lot of the deep convection is actually to the east of the center, and the center is rather exposed. That's what's going on with Peter, and it's very much getting sheared right now. We can see that the NHC forecasts this to continue being a tropical storm for the next, Thursday, so it's Monday today, Tuesday, Wednesday. For the next 3 days, they forecast it to be tropical storm. I don't know about that, but that's what they forecast. Depression, and then they forecast it to strengthen slightly back up to a tropical storm, which could end up happening. I'm not ruling that out. Some models are suggesting that. But yeah, that is what we've got going on with the cone for Peter. Now let's look at our model diagram. Okay, so here's Tropical Storm Peter's models, or what models are suggesting for Peter, and like I actually stated, I think within the next 36 hours, this thing will not be a tropical storm, and I think it probably will end up strengthening back to near tropical storm status. I don't know if it will actually get back up to tropical storm status, but this is what I'm thinking. I'm thinking right now it's around 40 miles per hour, and I think it's probably going to go down about there to tropical depression status. Then we're going to go really far down, probably will barely even be a tropical depression before it maybe strengthens back to borderline 40, very, very, very borderline 40 mile per hour tropical storm. And then we continue a little bit there before it weakens again. That's what I'm thinking for Peter. I really don't think it's it's not an impressive storm. I don't think it's going to do much. And here we have the model track guidance. Pretty straightforward with what's going to happen, other than the HMNI, which is on a whole other level of being stupid. I don't even know what it's doing. I really don't, because it's just so different from all the other models in a lot of ways. But if we look at the HMNI compared to the other models, why would we trust the HMNI? It's not going to happen. Nothing. This is not, whatever this is showing is not going to happen. I don't even know what it's doing. Basically what I think is going to happen is it's going to go and follow the track that every model other than the HMNI shows, which is going to go up here, and then maybe we will go up here, and I think it'll be a depression, or a storm. We'll go with black. Depression. Storm. And bye. That's what I think is going to happen with Peter. All right, let's move on to Rose. So, here is Rose's cone. And, well, as we can see, Rose actually has a beautiful sharp turn out in the middle of the sea, and then it will die. No. What actually Rose does, I gotta stop being funny because I'm not funny. But basically what Rose does is it goes and it takes this tropical storm path, tropical storm, it'll be a depression, probably die. That's what Rose will do. Nothing crazy, nothing special. I actually agree with Rose's, I agree with what the NHC is saying for Rose. Rose is, looking better than Peter at the moment, and I think it will last a tropical storm, at least for the next, 2 days, at least. And, yeah. Now let's move on to the model guidance for Rose, and we can see that the models have this staying a borderline tropical storm before maybe weakening down to a depression, and then a couple models have it actually strengthening to a low to mid-range tropical storm again. I don't know about that. We'll have to see what it does in the future. I don't know if it's going to do that. It could, or it could just end up taking the more realistic path, which is depression, die. Okay, now let's move on to our track for Rose. Okay, so here is Rose's track. Except for the Coty, which, again, what is it with these one models just doing something totally different from everything else? Except for the Coty, which wants this thing to just go out to sea and be stupid, we have every model in agreement with what it's going to do. The general consensus is it takes that sharp turn and goes one of those 3 ways, but out to sea is the main, I can't get over whatever this is. I don't even know what the Coty is doing. That is just so interesting. But that's what we got going on with Rose. That's what we got going on with Peter. That's what we got going on with our AOYs. So I'm just throwing this in the video now. I kind of already ended the video. However, I'm going to actually throw in another clip. So if this is just makes no sense why this is in here, that's why. But basically, I feel as though I want to go over 98L just because models are quite bullish with it and it has a pretty good environment ahead of it. So I am going to go over 98L briefly in this video because it could become a very important factor in the future of the tropics. So this is our GFS model, and we are going through, and we can see 98L right there. I don't even have my Epic Pen open, so I'm just going to circle with my mouse. And you can see it continues to go through the MDR, and it strengthens really quickly for the MDR. We're down to 974 millibars already, and then 970 where it goes out to sea, and maybe even gets into the 960s. This could be a pretty decent storm. Hopefully it stays out to sea, which is what I'm currently thinking, but the GFS does want this to be pretty strong. And if we go to the Euro, usually the Euro is the down player of all of the models. If we go to the Euro and we go to our, where are they? Okay, I guess we'll just, what the heck? Where is our 850 millibar height and wind? There we go. So if we look at the Euro, we can see that the Euro also has this, and it does form it into a really strong system, actually. You can see we're at Sunday, September 26th, 27th, and it's at 962, just off the coast of Puerto Rico. Now, the Euro and the GFS do have similar intensities. However, I will say the Euro and the GFS do take this in very different directions. The GFS wants us to go out to sea, while the Euro wants this to skirt right past the Caribbean state, or Caribbean land territories, which would be not so good if it made a little bit more of that westward jog. And let's see if the H-Wharf has this. It does. Oh, wow. So the H-Wharf, we can see we're going, and this only goes up to September 26th, but you can see it strengthens pretty quickly. We're down to 980 millibars. You can see 980 millibars. This is what it's going to look like according to the H-Wharf on our simulated satellite. Oh, that looks absolutely terrible for a 984 millibar system. Looks horrible, but, you know, who can trust simulated satellite, right? Wow, that looks horrible, but, you know, whatever. Probably going through an eyewall replacement cycle. No, it's not. Just has a horrible eyewall. Let's look at our HMON model, 980 millibars, basically in perfect agreement with the H-Wharf. Obviously, we saw the GFS. We can look at the CMC, actually. The CMC is doing CMC things. You know, let's hope that happens, but it's not. Let's be real here. I don't even know what the CMC is doing. But that's what we're looking at for 98L with our models. This could be a rather strong storm, so we're going to want to keep an eye on it. Could be a hurricane or more. But I'm not going to forecast that yet because it is just too far in advance. But it does have good conditions. Model support is strong for it. And we will end up seeing what happens. All right. This is the last clip of the day. Goodbye, everybody.